Now, at this point in time, the Galaxy S24 Plus has made some of the best upgrades out of any phone in 2024. And even though they made the most significant upgrades, I have to wonder, is it enough to bring them over the top? Now, we all know that when it comes to the Galaxy S series lineup, many of the phones within that lineup have rightfully earned their spot and reputation. The Galaxy S24 is the starter flagship for anyone who wants a good Galaxy phone, but doesn't want to pay over $1,000. The Galaxy S24 Ultra is a phone for people who are looking to pay over $1,000, but know that once they pay it, they'll be getting the best phone that Samsung has to offer. But with the Galaxy S24 Plus, for many years, we have questioned the Plus lineup because although it was bigger, it still was very inferior to the Ultra and too close to the regular S phone, which ultimately made it not worth the price. But this time around, things are different. The S24 Plus finally upgraded and made those adjustments that really made it a competitor to any phone in this price range, including the iPhone 15 Pro and Pixel 8 Pro. And while this is great and it should be celebrated because it basically means that Samsung is listening to the fans, I still have to ask, where does this affect its place in the lineup? And most importantly, are people willing to buy this over the Galaxy S24 Ultra? Do people still see the S24 Plus as a phone that they are willing to spend over $1,000 for compared to the more popular phones that cost around the same price? And most importantly, will this lead to an increase in sales and popularity, or have people written off the Plus lineup since it's underwhelmed for so long? And these are some of the questions that have been popping up in my brain because believe me when I tell you that this is a really great phone. It has a top tier display, a great battery life, and it's just an overall solid phone. But as we know in the real world, just because something is really good at what it does, doesn't mean that it will translate into sales, a loyal fan base, or even a string of popularity. So that's why going forward, I want to give you guys an updated review on the Galaxy S24 Plus because not only do I want to show how it holds up after a long-term use, but I also want to keep it in the minds of the public because oftentimes, the Plus series is often forgotten about after it releases, which will ultimately lead to the Galaxy S24 Plus being the most underrated phone of 2024. Now, making a good durable phone is something that Samsung has never shied away from. Over the past 3 weeks, I managed to accidentally drop my 24 Plus a total of 5 times, and this is for 2 reasons. Now, the first reason is because I am someone who is prone to dropping phones, and I would like to consider myself having butter fingers. And the other reason is because the Galaxy S24 Plus is a very slippery phone. All around the phone, you can see it has a matte texture feel, which is great aesthetically and can negate fingerprints. But again, it does result in the phone being a little bit more likely to slip out of your hand. One thing that I will say though is that the rounded frame, complemented with the boxy build, does make it more comfortable to hold while making it easier to grip as well. The S24 Plus has Gorilla Glass on the front and back, and right here, you can see that despite me dropping it a number of times, it's still able to look brand new, have little to no scratches, and continue working properly. And even when it comes to natural entities like water, the S24 Plus is IP68 dust and water resistant, which adds to its durability even more. And as you can see right here, the ports are even more sealed and slim than last year. In the city that I live in, it's been pretty rainy every day, so I often took my S24 Plus out and tested how it works in the rain, and it never messed with its performance. So like always, Samsung phones have always been able to withstand water. Now, something that I realized when it came to the Galaxy S24 Plus is that the more I used it, the harder it was to find any standout flaws. But like I said before, the phone is very slippery and this can be solved by using a case. But when it comes to the display, I have a very hard time finding any flaws. Now, as you guys know, the screen has gotten bigger, the display has gotten brighter, and most importantly, the resolution has finally been upgraded to 1440p, which makes this phone just as good, if not better than the S24 Ultra, depending on who you ask. In my previous S24 Plus video, I noted that the brightness has surpassed every other competitor in the US. It has a 2600 nit display, but something that I didn't tell you guys was how great it looks when compared to other phones. Here's a comparison with the Pixel 8 Pro, and taking the brightness out of it, the colors are more fleshed out when dealing with sunlight, the resolution can be more precisely seen, and the S24 Plus looks like a more quality phone overall. But fortunately, it doesn't stop there. When it comes to the fingerprint sensor, right here, you can see me on the Pixel 8 Pro. It's a little bit slow and can be inaccurate at times, but with the Galaxy S24 Plus, it's very sharp, very fast, all while still being insanely accurate. Even when comparing the Galaxy S24 Plus to the iPhone's Face ID, the S24 Plus did lose in this category, but I still wanted to show you guys how comparable it is since the iPhone is known to have the best facial recognition in the game. The responsiveness is still light and fast. 3 weeks later, I've only had 2 hiccups when changing apps, but on a daily basis, it has been reliable while still feeling faster when mixed with One UI 6, continuing the rhetoric of the S24 Plus's lightning fast feel. The 120Hz refresh rate is also holding up very well. Whenever I compare it to the Pixel 8 Pro, they both feel extremely similar when scrolling, but I preferred the S24 Plus since it felt a little bit more refined. The 1440p resolution was the exact same as any of the top tier phones of today. It was very well complemented with that signature Samsung brightness, contrast, sharpness, and the ability to mix all of those things together very well. So what about battery life? Has anything changed since I got this phone? Well, yes and no. And what I mean by this is that in terms of usage, I have been using my phone a little bit less than I would like to. So instead of me getting 5 to 7 hours of screen time a day, now I'm getting 3 to 5. And there's still heavy use in between. I took a break from Call of Duty, but I have been playing Asphalt 9 more. I'm still getting a fair amount of time on Instagram and Twitter. And I still do basic phone stuff like send texts and talk on the phone every once in a while. But because I'm not getting the same amount of screen time as I did when I first got it, my percentages to end the day have been much better. I often find myself ending the day with over 40% battery, which is pretty good. My 5G stays on all the time. My always on display is on all the time. I'm usually in the house, so the brightness is usually on medium. And I also listen to a ton of music on this phone. So these are little things that also take up the battery. Even looking at power, I wanted to give an update on how the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip is holding up whenever I play power heavy games. Has it overheated yet? Does it have patches of lag? And how does it look when compared to other top tier phones? Well, I want to answer some of those questions in this video. Now, as of February 15th, 2024, I have yet to experience any insane overheating. Yes, the phone does get a little hot, especially after longer periods of gaming, but that's it. It only heats up a little and stays that way until I'm done playing with it. And I've only had one patch of lag, and that's when I first got the phone. Ever since then, it has been running incredibly smooth. But this is not really surprising to me because Snapdragon has always been pretty great at dealing with this specific problem. And right here, since both of these phones are the same price, I wanted to give a comparison with the Pixel 8 Pro's Tensor chip. And right here, you can see that the Pixel has extreme lag and is very choppy. But with the Galaxy S24 Plus, it runs very smooth, has no choppiness, and it's the exact same as the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So what about camera? Well, in my last video, I gave you guys a bunch of sample photos and videos surrounding the S24 Plus. And in this video, I will be comparing the pictures that I took on the Pixel 8 Pro and the Galaxy S24 Plus so that you guys can decide for yourself if you think that the S24 Plus has a camera that can compete with the top dogs. Now, comparing selfies, I made sure to get the best lighting possible so that we can see which phone does the best when it hits good artificial and even natural light. Both phones did a great job. I think I prefer the Pixel, but let me know what you guys think. Comparing daytime photos, as you can see, both of these phones did great. The lighting was top tier. The sharpness between them was different, but I preferred the S24 Plus when it came to that. And I also preferred the S24 Plus when it came to the contrast. And even looking at videos, both phones were in a close battle. I like the Pixel 8 Pro's consistency in lighting. I like the S24 Plus's sharpness and contrast. And on a grand scale, both of these phones have top tier cameras. But there it is. That pretty much sums up all my thoughts around the S24 Plus after 3 weeks of use. It's a really great phone that I think will stand the test of time, but the only problem has been its struggle to find its place in the S series lineup. A lot of tech nerds like myself have given it its flowers, but will the general public be able to accept the Galaxy S24 Plus with open arms? Let's see. Peace.